Ladies and gentlemen, there is a youth movement. There is a youth movement for the Michigan Wolverines, and we are starting to see it pay off. And it is remarkable. We are now 7 games into the season, just over the halfway point. Now, let's hope, Big 10 championship aspirations here. We're still in the hunt for that. I want to make that very, very clear. All right, Big 10 championship aspirations here. College football playoff aspirations here. So hopefully the season is only about halfway done, because hopefully we're playing 14, 15, or 16 games, right? Because that means we're getting some of that extra. Obviously, we're going to have a bowl game. But, we have to win one more. But this is a team. Let me know what you think. And I said in yesterday's video I was going to touch more on this before I went to talk about other things. This is a team that's growing up in front of our eyes. And I'm going to say similar to what I said in yesterday's video here. I was so frustrated in the first half. I was so frustrated. And I remember I looked at my wife and I just said, maybe it's just bad coaching. Maybe it's just realizing that Sharon Moore took over a program and inherited a phenomenal program from Jim Harbaugh, but he doesn't know how to run it himself. I didn't know. And then everything changed with Cole Sullivan. Thank you, Cole. All right, young player, right? I think redshirt sophomore. And a superstar in the making. And he was just doing his job. He gets an interception. And then Jimmy Rolder, senior, just doing his job, gets an interception. And then Odin laying on his back, but he was in the right position. Odin's son gets an interception. And all of a sudden you start to see these young players positioning themselves to succeed. And they weren't the only ones. All right, I want you to look at this. This is our offensive snap counts and overall grade by PFF. Number 1 was Bryce Underwood, true freshman. Zach Marshall, what is he, a sophomore? Jordan Marshall, sophomore. Deacon Tonelli, young tight end. Andrew Sprague, young tackle. Blake Frazier, redshirt freshman. Right? Like, he's a second-year player. Andrew Marsh, freshman. Like Jasper Parker, he only had 14 snap counts, freshman. Jake Guarnara, second year. Like, look at all these guys that are playing well. I mean, like, you have to be like, this is exciting. This is exciting. It's the same thing when you go a little bit less, but when you go on the defensive side of the ball, there's just, and I said this in our last video, it's like watching an NFL preseason game. There's so many guys that get snap counts. Like, look at how many guys got snaps on the defensive side of the ball. Look at that list. Look at how many players played. All right, Odin played 1 play, got a pick. Like, are you kidding me right now? That's unbelievable. There is so much depth. There's so much depth on this team, and you start to see it. Shamari Earls is getting more and more snaps. Zeke Berry's playing better. Jaden Sanders is playing better. Like, it doesn't matter who you have in there, they're playing well, and it's just getting a little bit better and a little bit better each week. And you can now start to see the difference. But it's more, I think, than just that. When you look at what they did overall and who the players are that made the difference. All right? Jordan Marshall, our running back, in his second year was fantastic. Carried the ball 25 times, well over 100 yards, and he came in and filled in admirably for a seasoned vet, arguably best running back in the country, Justice Haynes. He did it, and he did it well. Bryce Underwood played by far his best game of the season, completing over 70% of his passes, a career high. 21 of 27 for 230 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. All right? Yeah, there were a couple of boneheaded plays. He took a sack because he stepped out of bounds instead of throwing it out of bounds. But there was also really good plays. Do you remember early on in the game, he was on a rollout, and he had an easy little toss to the tight end. But instead of just tossing it to him, he threw a laser at him, and he missed the target. Then, after halftime, he comes out, and he has the same play where he's rolling out. I think this time it might have been to Marshall, the running back, and he just puts a little touch on it. Just puts a little touch on it, showing that he can do it. He's learning in game. That's the kind of guy that we have here. And I have been overall extremely impressed at his ability to run an offense, even though he's a true freshman. And then don't even get me started on my guy, Andrew Marsh. 4 or 5 catches, 49 yards, a touchdown, and he is becoming the go-to option, the number one wide receiver on this team that has a Donovan McCulley. They have a good, talented number one wide receiver, but Andrew Marsh is playing so well as a true freshman that you can't keep him off the field, even though they tried in the beginning of the year. And not only can you not keep him off the field, he's making plays. The one-handed catch that he made, just the ability, and these are things that he learned last week at USC. The week before that at Nebraska made a great catch on a deep ball where he turned, jumped, high pointed the ball, made the catch. Against USC last week at the goal line, had the catch, allowed it to be knocked away. That was a learning moment. And then he comes back and does what he does this week. It's the ability to learn on the run. Who is Deacon Tonelli? It's a Tonelli. Who is this guy? He's a tight end. Tell me, truthfully, have you heard of him before this game? I do a show on the Michigan Wolverines on YouTube. I forgot that Deacon Tonelli was on this team. Like, I forgot about it. It wasn't even a thought in my mind because he hadn't seen a game. Now, the coaches were telling people, hey, watch out for this Tonelli kid. He's the real deal. Like, and you could see it. Yeah, he had one drop. That'll be fixed in the next game. Because that was a very clear, I did not expect there to be an athlete this big, this fast, hit me that quickly after I caught the ball, and so I hadn't secured it the way I should, right? You saw him not mess with that. He took contact a couple of other times in the game. That ball didn't even come close to squirting out, right? He was learning from it, and that is what my new assessment of this team is. This is the single youngest team in the Big Ten. Think about that for a second. That was said on the broadcast. I haven't looked it up online. I think I remember that being true. This is the youngest football team in the Big Ten. But you'll make the argument that it is the most, if not the most, the second or third most talented in the Big Ten. They are absolutely loaded with talent. Now the question is how quickly can that young talent start to have veteran poise? And it's now becoming clear to me why so many guys are getting playtime early on in the season. It's because you want these young guys to be ready to rock and ready to go when it counts the most. This game against Washington, this kind of what's becoming a pseudo rivalry, right? Like it's starting to have that feel. You know, anytime you get Big Ten, Pac-12 rivalries, old Pac-10, right? And even though they're here now, it feels like a rivalry. Michigan-USC feels like a rivalry. Michigan-Washington has felt like a rivalry. We met in the national championship in 2023. Then they got revenge on us last year in 2024. Now we repaid the favor in 2025. This is becoming a rivalry. And so this was a must-win game. If we lose this game, we are out of the Big Ten championship race, and we are out of the playoff race. Maybe you can make an argument if you squint really hard and we win out, beat Ohio State, end at 9-3, but it's unlikely. It's extremely unlikely. It's like a 5% chance. Whereas now, if we win out, we're in. Yeah, we're in. Even if we beat Ohio State and lose in the Big Ten championship, we'd be in the playoff. So you need these young players, these freshmen, these sophomores that usually you don't need to count on a ton. This is a new college football. And I love the amount of young talent that we have on this team because it's not just a transfer portal team. It's not just a transfer portal team. Yes, Justice Haynes is a phenomenal running back, and he's our number one running back. But Jordan Marshall is very equipped to be our lead back, and he is homegrown. Bryce Underwood, yes, we paid him a lot of money, but he's homegrown, right? All of these guys are homegrown. Andrew Marsh, right? Like some of them have transferred and then stayed here for a while, but you thought this offense was going to have to rely extremely heavily on Justice Haynes and Donovan McCulley. This offensive line is homegrown. That's what I love about it is that they're recruiting at a high enough level under Sharon Moore to continue and compete while still using the transfer portal. That's what good teams do. That is what the best teams in the country do. That is how you have a continuous winning formula. All right. It was revealed. They're the youngest team in the NCAA. Not even NCAA. I said it wrong twice. In the Big Ten. They're a good team. All right. Thanks for watching. Hit that record button if you like what we're doing here, and we'll see you on the next one.